olhos meus e a luz dos olhos teus resolvem se encontrar. Ai, que bom que isso é, meu Deus, que frio que me dá o encontro desse olhar. Mas se a luz dos olhos teus resiste aos olhos meus só pra me provocar, meu amor, juro por Deus, me sinto incendiar. Meu amor, juro por Deus que a luz dos olhos meus já não pode esperar. Quero a luz dos olhos meus na luz dos olhos teus sem mais lararará. Pela luz dos olhos teus eu acho meu amor e só se pode achar que a luz dos olhos meus precisa se casar.
Careful with what you wish for Part 1. Dylan woke up late again, something usual for Mondays. He has the bad habit of turning off the alarm Saturday morning when he wants to sleep until late, but then he only remembers the alarm again when he misses it the next Monday. You may be wondering why he doesn't just set the alarm only for weekdays and solve his problem. Well, that's very simple. Because he only evokes the problem when he is sleepy on a Saturday or too late on Monday morning, and independently if he is drooling again on his pillow or grabbing a last-minute taxi with the obscene rate of the rush hour. In both cases, he forgets the alarm as soon as he remembers it. He calls it JoJo Mondays because he always woke up singing Too Little Too Late in his mind in the open browser tab of his brain. Dylan always has a song playing in his mind, every time he is awake, every day of his life. He calls it the open tab because he never knows where the music is coming from, and he has to shut down his whole system to make it stop. At this point in his life, Dylan doesn't mind about the music anymore. It's like living in a movie with a very dedicated sound designer, ready to make any boring shit happening to him to be interesting for the audience. That morning, Dylan had a boarding meeting with his boss, Marcy, the duck, frat boy, and the adorable, and his best friend and hidden affection for the past 4 years, since he joined the company. He is a designer working for a publicity agency, and he's responsible for making all the art for their campaigns. They were clustered in teams, and his team was doing a pretty solid job since he started there, so they were on this together for a while, except for Duck. Colin is his name, and he was the most annoying voice Dylan remembers of listening ever, so he calls him the Duck whenever he is talking to his mom on the phone. Duck was always trying to please Michael, Dylan's boss, and consequently giving unwanted and not requested opinions about everybody else's jobs. In the beginning it was bothersome, but nowadays and Dylan just entertain themselves by watching George, the frat boy, lose his temper over the Duck for trying to teach him how to do his own presentations to the clients, like if frat boy hadn't passed the past 10 years doing it. Michael pacifies every time, and his secretary Marcy pretends to take notes of any potential useful suggestions, which usually means ordering her lunch in advance in this vegan restaurant around the office that she loves. Even being almost always late on JoJo Mondays, he was usually on time for the meeting and very rarely Michael called his attention. And the real regret just comes by the end of the day, when he realizes that he doesn't have his bike to go back home and has a 1-hour standing bus ride to take. He doesn't even live that far, that's why he bikes. But the itinerary of the bus is discouraging. That morning, he had 10 minutes to arrive at work to be on time, and the traffic was predicting 40 minutes, so he wasn't feeling confident at all. But he still expected for the best, why not? And kept repeating to his phone, "Come on, faster, faster," as if it was going to help. When the app driver arrived, his hope crumbled faster than the Jenga pieces when he plays drunk with his friends. Her name was Marietta, she was probably around 80 years old, and she had cookies for him and the other passengers she gets that day. That was so sweet that Dylan would never have the courage to cancel, so he just sits in the back and chill, ready to accept his fate. She was safely driving to his work and telling him that due to her husband's illness, she was trying to make some extra money to pay for his medication. Marietta had people to help them, no children, but good neighbors. However, she has been a strong and independent woman her whole life, since before it was popular, and Marietta has always taken good care of her man. Dylan just kept listening to her and nodding his head while eating the most delicious oat and raisin cookies he had in a while. He decided to give her a really good tip and just enjoyed the slow ride, "Take it easy," playing in his mental radio. When they arrived, Dylan thanked her and she gave him a few more cookies since he enjoyed it so much, and he made a mental note of writing a good review for her, and he remembered he was late for the meeting and checked his watch. It was 9:05. Somehow, the Quaker's grandma drove him in remarkable 15 minutes, and he still had 10 before his meeting. That's a lucky JoJo Monday, he thought. While he was walking to his desk inside the building, Dylan saw and walking towards the meeting room. She was lovely with a long, tight dress, a blazer, and her usual ponytail on her long and blonde hair. His open tab immediately changed from Foghat to Every Breathe You Take, which was his main weekday tune because of her. And here goes the frat boy right after her, trying to have 5 minutes alone with and in the room before the meeting starts, and says he is being ridiculous and probably jealous too when Dylan tells her that George is into her. And probably she is right, but also Dylan is a guy that knows what the guys do, so yeah, better be careful too. Dylan dropped his stuff on his table, grabbed the notebook, and went to the meeting room on time to open the door to his boss and Marcy, and let go before the duck could come in. Dylan saw him coming but pretended he didn't, and only and would know, and she would never tell them. Those meetings were very long and very boring, and Dylan hated every second of it. Basically, Michael wanted to know about the progress from the previous week so they could plan the next few days, but in the end, everyone already knows what they have to do. And they sit next to each other in the office, what means that Dylan is perfectly capable of talking to any of his colleagues if necessary. So, to Dylan, it looks like these meetings were needed only to prove to whoever cares that Michael is being somehow useful. This line always makes him laugh, so he defends it as if it was a newborn baby lost in the jungle. And this is Dylan from the Inner Brain Radio. Thanks for your audience. Now stay with You Will Be in My Heart. The meeting was about some changes that they had to make to the merchandising products for a client, and that was Duck's problem. So, Dylan was paying attention in the first 10 minutes just to see his face. Next, he got lost in his thoughts, for God knows how long. Dylan realized he had to start taking notes of whatever to look like he was actually there, and his notes usually end up in a sketch of Anne. One thing he loved to do when the endless meeting reaches the second hour is to entertain himself with live cartoons. How? You are probably asking yourself. By drawing mentally on people. So, Michael was speaking and pointing to his slides with graphics of whatever bullshit the duck had to fix, and Dylan just started imagining Michael dressed like a clown and the slides as a funny cartoon of Woody Woodpecker, which was his favorite as a child, and suddenly the meeting was interesting again. And Frat Boy was using the opportunity of Duck's screw-up with the merchandising and started to judge him and give opinions about Duck's work that he didn't ask. Duck was having a little bit of a payback right on his face, total Woody Woodpecker vibes. It was a good cartoon, but Dylan didn't know who was right about the matter in the end, because Colin only quacked, and you can't argue with quacks. Now Dylan was paying attention and decided to defend George, and he never feels comfortable whenever she is close or looking at the frat boy. He was a classic standard of a man that girls like, and he was for sure into, and Dylan couldn't tell if she was interested in him because whenever they go out for lunch, they essentially gossip about people at work, and they have never approached this subject. That's why and always invites Marcy to join them, who does an impressive job in acquiring and distributing the rumors, sentencing them all to eat in the vegan restaurant that smells weird. To be fair, the restaurant didn't smell weird, but the waiter guy that always serves them does. Singing, "Ooh, that smell. Can't you smell that smell? Ooh, that smell. The smell of death surrounds you." But Dylan also thinks that maybe she wants Marcy around and tolerate the smelly veggies to not be alone with him during lunch. On the other hand, and always shares the dessert with him, not Marcy, but him. One day when he had the balls, Dylan was going to officially ask Ann out for a date and find out. Okay, and thinks he is being too rude to Duck and there are better ways to help. No big deal, he could chill again and watch another cartoon. Suddenly, Michael started sneezing and scratching his face, apparently out of control. He was speaking with one hand in the pointer and the other constantly in the nose, itching for a while. Now it was absurd. His nose started blowing and turning red like it was a cherry tomato, what made him feel slightly bad for him. But then he was relieved because finally the eternal meeting was over. Now Dylan could go have lunch with and because that was a lucky JoJo Monday, Marcy was taking the boss to the doctor and couldn't join them. So sad. And invited the other two to join us as usual, but they didn't want to interact with each other and refused immediately. Frat boy never gets lunch because of whatever diet he does to keep the muscles. His father owns the company so he can use his lunchtime to hang out with his old man. Adorable. Sometimes Dylan writes in the anonymous suggestions form in HR that they could open a branch office in New York or whatever and send frat boy there to manage it. And God knows where the duck hides to feed, probably from popcorn or bread crumbles some old lady threw at him. So Dylan doesn't even get nervous anymore when she asks them to come. And Marcy is a fun third wheel whenever she is around too, so it's a win-win situation. They went to this pasta and pizza place near the office that they like. Isn't a proper Italian place, but it's good enough and better than any fast food. And they could share a slice of pie for dessert. As the day couldn't get better, the restaurant was playing Every Breath You Take, which was their song, at least in Dylan's mind. Hey, and how was your weekend? Dylan asked while reading the menu, just to order the same meatball sub every time. It was nice. I had brunch with my sister on Saturday and then just stayed home. I wish I had company for Saturday night. Although, she answered, "Oh really? What did you do Saturday night?" Dylan said while adding olive oil to a slice of bread that was in the table for courtesy. Nothing. Just would be very nice to have company at the weekends, don't you think? And answered while looking at the menu, just order the eggplant lasagna as always. The waiter arrived and asked them, "Do you guys want the usual?" And they agreed while giving him back the menu. "So, what do you think?" And asked, "About what?" "Oh, I remember. Saturday night. Yeah, I can't complain because usually my buddy Johnny comes over with pizza from the place where his mom works, and we play video games until late. It's fun," Dylan answered. "Sounds fun," and said, drinking a sip of her Diet Coke. "I think the same song is on the repeat, right? I feel like it has been playing forever," she asked, laughing. Dylan then realized that it was still playing Every Breath You Take in the restaurant. Maybe there is a jukebox, and someone really likes this song, Dylan answered. Only then he got her cue and said, "You can come over to play with me and Johnny next Saturday if you want. Just let me text my mom to extra clean this week, because I am having VIP around." The food arrived at their table and he started eating. Dylan was starving for not having breakfast that morning, and meatballs were his favorite since he was a kid. "I thought you lived by yourself," and said confused. "Oh, I do. Mom comes over to clean once a week. But I pay her to do it, so we are practical," he answered, trying to clean the sauce that was covering half of his cheeks already. "Ah, gotcha. What do you think that happened to Michael? Do you think it was allergy? He is not the boss of the year, but he is a cool guy. I hope he gets better." And Marcy speaks very well of him, and was slicing all her lasagna before she started to eat. Dylan thinks that's cute when she does it, and he always mentions that. "I don't know, but whatever happened saved us from some more boring extra hours of meeting. So thanks, Itchy Nose," Dylan said, cheering with his glass of lemonade, and laughed and said, "You were so funny, but seriously, I hope he is fine." And Dylan answered, "Yeah, me too. At least until the next meeting," and laughed at his own joke. Marcy appeared in the restaurant and joined them. She had her salad bowl from the vegan place and asked the waiter for a glass of red wine. The staff were used to her bowl, they didn't have vegan options. But since Ed and Dylan were regulars at the restaurant and Marcy likes their red wine and day drinking, it was never a problem. "Okay guys, I have some news. I took Michael to the emergency room and waited for his wife to come over and stay with him, so I heard him speaking with the big boss on the phone, and apparently, he is taking a couple of days off to recover. At least he said that Michael could get any days off according to his need," Marcy told them with a concerned expression. Dylan thought that he could stay away until next Tuesday and no boring meeting next week, but kept for himself. The women started to discuss all the hypotheses they could think about what reason Michael felt sick, and Dylan finished his sub and ordered their usual dessert to share.
Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Check out our website to read more tales. www.forestttales.com